Hey guys, and welcome back to the Curiouser and Curiouser podcast, where I take your questions and I bring in an expert to answer them. Today we are doing our Diet of the Month episode, and the diet that we will be focusing on is, drumroll please, veganism. Today we have with us a very special guest who's near and dear to my heart. She is a functional nutritionist who's licensed, and she works with clients on an individual level to help them regain and maintain their health through exercise and diet. Her name is Tara Taylor, and she is my mother. And because of our special guest here today, we are also in a special location. This is the library in the home where I grew up, and I thought it would be nice sentimentality to bring that little bit of nostalgia in with bringing my mom on the show today. So for us to start out, could you give us a little bit of background on your degree and what you specialize in?
Yeah, so I actually specialize in studies of traditional cultures and traditional diets from around the world and what information we can glean from them in our pursuit of optimal health.
So are there any traditional vegan cultures?
Actually, there are none. There are no multi-generational vegan cultures in the history of the entire
None?
that we know of, none. And we know a lot. We've studied thousands and thousands. Anthropologists, we have evidence from cultures with oral histories, and so we know, and no, there have been none.
What about the blue zones?
That's a really great question, and one that I really want to address, because the book on blue zones and then the subsequent series on Netflix has been highly influential. The problem is that it's a myth, and what they say is that there are these different societies around the world where they have a large number of people living over 100. And these are all, they say they are all plant-based. The problem is it's simply not true. When serious researchers have gone into each one of these regions and asked the right questions and really spent time with these people rather than just doing a surface kind of questionnaire, they have found that all of these cultures eat a wide variety of animal products.
That's fascinating.
So, unfortunately, it sounds great. It sounds great on paper, but it's simply not true. And so part of my practice is kind of embracing the fact that we were created to be omnivores. We weren't created to be plant-based in our eating.
Okay, so if we weren't created to be plant-based, then what were we created to eat?
So absolutely, we are omnivores. Every serious scientist agrees on this. There's nobody that would argue with that fact. Our bodies are made to be omnivorous. So one thing that a lot of people point to is our stomach acid, which animals that are herbivores or nusivores, that's eat primarily nuts.
Thank you.
They have relatively high almost some of them are almost neutral in the stomach acid, whereas animals that are made biologically to eat a lot of animal products have very, very low stomach acid, and there are different reasons for this, but it helps us to digest these proteins, which are so good for us biologically and so needed anyway. So our stomach acid is actually lower than wolves, which are mostly carnivorous. So it's very, very interesting.
What would an example of an animal that is an herbivore, like what does their digestion look like?
So an animal like, say, the gorilla that eats almost 95% plant-based, they have an enormous gut. They have a fermenting gut.
Okay.
And you can see it just hangs out. They have a fermenting gut. We have a very uncomplicated gut.
I think that's actually really interesting because I've seen something recently that said since gorillas are so strong and they eat mostly plants, why aren't we eating like them? So it's great to know that that is the explanation for that. They have a different digestive tract.
Absolutely. Animals that are herbivores and nudivores their bodies are created with a very complicated digestive system, which extracts the maximum amount of nutrients from these very difficult to digest things. I mean, if you've ever eaten corn, and you can tell immediately that our digestive tract is not really ideal for digesting corn. It kind of comes out. Lentils, a lot of beans, they just, enormous amounts of gas.
Straight back out the other end.
Right, and you can just tell that it's not doing so well for our gut. And there are things we can do to help make plants more easily digested, but it is never going to be enough because we have a very, very uncomplicated gut. I mean, animals like cows, they have I don't know how many stomachs. I'm not a cow expert, but they have a very extremely complicated gut. And the gorillas also regurgitate their food back into their mouths.
Chew on it? Like their cow chews their cud?
They literally chew their cud, and they regurgitate it back. They sometimes regurgitate it back into each other's mouths, and then regurgitate back and forth. So trust me when I say that we don't want to eat like gorillas.
Yeah, I certainly don't. Okay, so since clearly we are not designed to eat an herbivore diet or a vegan diet, what deficiencies are caused by eating that diet?
Tons, really. It's not just B12. A lot of people like to think, the only real deficiency that will happen if you're vegan is a B12 deficiency, which is true. You absolutely have to supplement with B12 if you're vegan. But there are other ones where that no matter how you try, the vegan diet is deficient in B12, as we mentioned, D3, K2, E, EPA, DHA, heme iron, which is the kind of iron that is easily absorbable and usable by our bodies, taurine, leucine, zinc, carnosine, creatine, anserine, and carnitine. The vegan diet is simply deficient in all of these, sometimes severely deficient.
That is quite an extensive list. Could you pick one of those and talk to us more about why it's so important and why missing out on that is so detrimental to our health?
I guess I would choose DHA. So plants simply do not have DHA.
At all?
At all. At all.
None of them?
None.
There's no way you can get it from anything but animal-based things?
No. Plants do provide us some of them. Some specific ones like chia, walnuts, and flax, they do have a pretty good amount of ALA. But the problem is our body converts ALA. It's very difficult conversion. So our body converts ALA to DHA at the rate of 1%. So essentially very, very little. It is impossible not to become deficient in DHA over time while on a vegan diet. It's impossible. Yeah.
And what functions do DHA serve?
So DHA is so important that even middling, not very good quality baby formulas, they always supplement with DHA. And you can see it right there on the label for formulas. It's because it is essential for the growth and development of the infant brain, but it is also essential for the maintenance of brain health, cognitive function, memory, higher brain function, mood even. Can I list a couple more?
Go ahead.
It modulates pain, so it regulates how we perceive pain, so we're not achy, and it lowers inflammation. It helps lung health. It modulates cellular signaling. It maintains the blood-brain barrier. It has anti-inflammatory capacities. It aids the immune system. It is anti-cancer. It even aids cardiovascular health.
Okay, so one of the things that I've heard about the vegan diet actually is that it's good for your cardiovascular health. So how can that be the case if DHA is so essential to it?
So when we are comparing the health of different diets, we really want to compare a comparable quality of diet. So it's unfair to, so most people who practice veganism are not eating a ton of junk food. They're not going to McDonald's and eating French fries. Mm-hmm. They are making a conscious effort to have high quality, often organic foods, well sourced. They're trying to be as healthy as possible for the best they know how. Mm-hmm. So the problem is that the standard American diet is also vastly unhealthy, and we can talk about that in another podcast. Mm-hmm. But the sad fact of the matter is that a lot of people in America are eating garbage on a daily basis. They're eating fast food. They're eating foods that are not nutrient dense either and are really not good for them. In fact, very much the opposite. So, which is terrible for cardiovascular health. So if you really want to compare apples and apples, you want to compare a vegan diet, a health conscious, which most of them are, vegan diet. You need to compare that to a health conscious omnivore diet.
Okay, I see.
Which is a totally different thing. And if you do compare the two, there's no cardiovascular benefit to a vegan diet.
So what you're saying is that claims that veganism is good for your cardiovascular health are unfair because it's comparing veganism to an unhealthy diet that should not be the standard. It's like apples and oranges instead of apples and apples.
Exactly.
Okay. We know that there are people who are on the vegan diet because they believe it's the most healthy diet that they can be on, right? But there are also plenty of people who are on the diet because of personal convictions, whether it be moral or religious, and who are unwilling to go off of the vegan diet. As a nutritionist, what advice would you give those people to make the vegan diet healthy?
So it's very difficult because 13 out of the top 15 most nutrient-dense foods are animal foods. So in literally all of the top 11 are animal foods. So you really are depriving yourself of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. But there is a joke, believe it or not, among nutritionists that in order to do plant-based diets well, they have to also be plant-based. And it's an inside joke, meaning that industrial plants, meaning manufactured supplements, manufactured powders, manufactured proteins, other things like that. So this is what it takes to do a vegan diet with any similitude of healthiness. You have to do these highly processed foods or supplements. I'm sorry, not foods, but supplements. You have to consume them. You have to consume these things so that you're not deficient in them.
Okay, well, I think we've pretty solidly landed on a veganism is a no-go. It is not healthy for you unless, of course, you rely on manufactured supplements and things like that, like she so kindly told us.
Yeah, I mean, my closing thought would be to think about how we were created. And if God created us to be omnivores, which is indisputable. We will never, no matter how we try, no matter all the hoops we jump through to do veganism in the most healthy way possible, we will never succeed in being as healthy as we would be on a whole foods based, well prepared, healthy omnivore diet, because that's how we were created by God to be.
Wow. I think that sums it up really nicely. And to wrap up the episode, I would like to say thank you so much to my beautiful mother for coming on and teaching us some more today. And thank you to all of you guys who are watching and listening out there. Thank you for submitting your questions and giving us things to be curiouser and curiouser about. That's it for today, and I will see you next week with another episode. Bye.